What is up, guys? This is QM from the Trinity of Lift, and today I'm going to bring all of you guys my updated Deskbot deck profile for this brand new November 2015 ban list. Now, I won't really go into much introduction because I feel like there's going to be quite a few things to say about this deck. So, yeah, we're just going to start it right away, right now, starting off with the main deck as per usual. I will give you just a little bit of an introduction, I guess you could say. I'm just completely disregarding what I said before. This build of Deskbots right now is an aggressive, like not OTK, but a very aggressive damage pushing build of Deskbots. Just keep that in mind as it will be contrasting my old version of this deck where it was a more controlly version of it. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get right into the monsters. We're going to start off with 3 copies of the Deskbot number 6, which is the brand new Deskbot from Dimensions of Chaos. This guy will be the one that's going to be completing our Pendulum scale in this deck, accompanied by Deskbot number 5, as he is obviously the scale number 1 that we needed. Now, this guy is pretty cool because whenever he is normal or special summoned, we can target one monster on the field and switch its battle position. Now, this isn't that helpful against Cosmo and friends, but against things like Pepe and Magispectors, it's kind of decent. I mean, like, Ignister is sitting at 2850 attack, and its defense is, I don't quite remember it off the top of my head, but I know it's much lower than its attack points, so that's kind of an application that number 6's summon effect can be used, but outside of that, it only provides marginal utility, in my opinion. The real utility that number 6 provides, outside, again, of being a scale, is that whenever it is destroyed in your Pendulum zone, you can simply target one Deskbot in your grave and add it to your hand. So it's really cool because it just gives you a cool recursion effect that you can abuse slightly with this deck to constantly get you your resources from your grave, i.e. your Deskbot number 3s or your Deskbot number 4s. So yeah, again, and he also is a level 6 too, so he can be used to pump up number 4's attack quite high, all the way up to 3500. And yeah, he's just pretty solid all around again, and also just completing the Pendulum scale and giving this deck Pendulum summon potential is really good too. Moving on to the next Deskbot, we go into Deskbot number 5. He is the MST of the deck. Whenever he is normal or special summon, you can target one spell or trap card on the field. Blow it up. It's very simple. Whenever he is normal or special summon, you usually will be special summoning this guy either off of a Pendulum summon or off of Deskbot number 4's effect. Now, he is also the scale 10, so he is the one that's going to give us our Pendulum summons. And very much like number 6, whenever he is destroyed in the Pendulum zone, you can target one Deskbot in your grave and special summon it. So it kind of follows a theme with the Pendulum monsters right now in this deck, that whenever they're destroyed in the Pendulum zone, they get you back a Deskbot in some way, shape, or form, which is pretty cool. And it kind of deters your opponent from MSTing your scales or trying to destroy them in any way, because again, if they try and do that, you'll eventually just get a guy back anyway. So it really just forces the neg one on your opponent, which is really, really cool. And it kind of gives you some protection whenever you have your Pendulum scales set up. So of course, we have the number 5 in here for that Pendulum aspect, its effect, as well as it can also pump up number 4 all the way up to 3000 attack if need be as well. So yeah, we have 3 of number 5. And speaking of number 4, we have 3 copies of him as well. He is going to be the guy that we will be using to punch over all of our opponent's monsters, as whenever he attacks during the damage step, we can essentially Foolish Burial a Deskbot, and then increase number 4's attack points by the monster we sense level times 500. So again, we can be using our higher level Deskbots, which is the number 5 and the number 6, to pump up number 4 all the way up to 3500 or 3000 attack, which is really, really big. And of course, it always just runs over important things like Ignister Prominence and Cosmo Dark Destroyer, which is really, really nice. As well as whenever you do destroy a monster by battle, you essentially get 2 free Deskbots from your grave. And again, it just helps you really just get your advantage rolling. And of course, we have to run him at 3 because he is our big offensive Deskbot. Moving on to the next one, we have 3 copies of number 3 because he is our tour guide of the underworld for this deck. Whenever he is normal summoned, you can special summon any Deskbot from your deck. Now, that's pretty cool because he can be used in tandem with your number 2, which is kind of like your Stratos of the deck, being able to search out any of your Deskbots. And again, just because you can combo with this guy and number 2 to search out any Deskbot in your deck, you can use this guy to really just help you set up your Pendulum skills as soon as possible, which is really, really nice. And of course, as well, his other effect is when during either player's turn, you can simply target a Deskbot on the field, and that Deskbot will be gaining 500 attack and defense per Deskbot on the field, which again, just really emphasizes how you can really get one of your Deskbots, or a couple of your Deskbots even, to really, really huge attack points. So yeah, we have the number 3 just here for field swarming and just really good turn 1 plays as well. This card opening up with it is really strong as well. Moving on to the other Deskbots, we have 3 copies of number 2. Now, I know I bashed this card quite a bit in the last list because of the fact that previously beforehand, when we didn't have a complete pendulum scale, this card would be an absolutely horrible draw because you would have to special summon it first of all to get its search effect to search any Deskbot. And the problem with that beforehand was that you'd never have a good way to special summon it if you ever drew into it, which is why beforehand I was running the Mathematician and only one copy of 2 because we really want to send it to grave ASAP so that we can summon it off of our number 4. But the good thing now is that because we have pendulum summoning access, we can actually afford drawing into this guy and just simply pendulum summon it out to get the advantage, which is really, really nice. And again, like I said, it isn't too hard to set up your pendulum scales, with the things like number 3 into one of the number 2s, or just simply drawing into one of your 6 pendulum monsters as well. So again, this is why I feel like running 3 of this guy is pretty good. We also are running machine duplication, so it just makes this card even more insane. So yeah, we are running 3 copies of number 2. And then finally, for the last Despot, we are running 1 copy of Despot number 1. Now, he is the tuner out of all the Despots. He's the one that can help you get it to your synchro plays. My biggest problem, though, is that you cannot pendulum summon Despot number 1 because, of course, the lowest scale that you have access to is a scale 1, and I don't believe there's ever going to be a scale 0, so level 1 monsters will never be able to be pendulum summoned. And because of that problem, you will always end up having to commit your normal summon to Despot number 1 in order to use it as a tuner. So because of that, I really didn't want to draw into him. You'd rather search him off of number 2 so that you can pendulum summon, or excuse me, I was about to say pendulum summon him, so you can normal summon him later rather than draw into him over some other cards that you'd rather draw into in this deck. So because of that, I have put him at 1 copy in this deck, and really I have no complaints with 1 because again, I found at multiples he really can clog, and like I said again, you really have to commit your normal summon, and it's really hard to use him if you draw into him. He's kind of like how Despot number 2 was in the old list now. So that is why, again, I only have 1 of him. Moving on to the other monsters in our deck, we have a little Gear Gear engine in the form of 2 Augur and the 1 copy of Accelerator because obviously Gear Gigan X is a very, very strong turn 1 play. Going into Augur first turn to use the Accelerator and the Augur to make a Gear Gigan X and then subsequently search out something like a Despot number 3 is really, really good. And again, just because of how important Advantage is in this format, it's really, really good to have just easy +1 monsters in your deck. So that is, again, why we are running the Gear Gear engine. And of course, finally, for the last monster, I'm running 1 copy of Gen X Ally Birdman. Besides it being a level 3 tuner, which is really, really good because it can help us get into our higher level synchros really fast, I really like Gen X Ally Birdman for the fact that you can essentially reuse some of your normal summon-ish kind of Deskbots, like in number 3. As, of course, whenever number 3 is normal summon, like I said, you can special summon any Deskbot from your deck. But it's really cool because you can use Birdman to bounce the number 3 back to your hand, summon the Birdman, and then tune the Birdman with whatever you might have summoned with the number 3. And then next turn you will have yet another normal summon or another relevant normal summon in the number 3 that you did bounce back, which is again really cool, and it can actually help you get into some pretty cool synchro plays as well as give you a little bit more longevity in this deck. So that is why we are running the 1 Gen X Ally Birdman to round off our monster lineup. Moving on to the spells, we have 3 copies of the Machine Duplication. Now, please excuse the proxy, I could not find the 3rd copy of Machine Dupe in my house, and I don't know why. But regardless, we are running 3 copies of Machine Duplication because, again, like I said, we are running 3 copies of number 2. And Machine Duping a Despot number 2 is pretty insane because I think it gives you a, what, +4? +3. It gives you something absolutely ridiculous in terms of card advantage. So that is why we are running the 3 copies of Machine Duplication again, because like I said at the very beginning of this video, this deck is more offensively inclined than the last Deskbot list. So again, using the Machine Duplication to help us get really, really big boards and to potentially even go for OTKs is really, really nice. That is why, of course, we are running 3 of this time, 3 of this guy. Moving on to the other spells, we have 3 copies of the Upstart Goblin because, as you guys have probably known for I don't know how long already, like if you guys have been watching this channel for any prolonged period of time, you will know that I very much like my 37 card consistency. So that is of course why we are running the 3 copies of the Upstart Goblin. Moving on, we have the 1 copy of Limiter Removal because, like I said, this deck really wants to push for damage really fast. So using Limiter to really just help us augment our big OTK plays never is going to be a bad thing. And especially like if we have a couple of Deskbot number 3s on board, plus maybe like a Deskbot number 4. Oh no, excuse me, maybe like a Deskbot number 1 even. Like you could really go for some pretty huge damages if you ever open up with Limiter plus a decent combo play or something like that. So yeah, we are running the 1 Limiter. Then we have the one copy of Instant Fusion because I could not find the room in my extra deck for multiple Nordens. So because I am running one, I just decided to just run the one Instant Fusion to accompany the Norden because again, it's a good one of in this deck because there isn't a lot of plays that you can use the Instant Fusion for because there isn't a lot of rank 4 or excuse me, there isn't a lot of level 4s and you only do have one Deskbot number 1 to use for a level 5 synchro play. So because of that, I never really wanted to have multiple Instant Fusions and I'm fine with only having one. Finally, for the last spell card, we of course have Raigeki because blowing up our opponent's board and then pushing for really big damage is never a bad thing. So that'll be it for the spells. Moving on to the traps, we're going to start off with 3 copies of main decked Grand Horn of Heaven. Now, I have this in here because I feel like Pendulum Performages as well as Magic Spectres can be the absolute worst matchup for this deck. As for Cosmos, you really won't have a problem. Like, sure, the Dark Destroyers can help the opponent by destroying your own monsters, but the thing is, Deskbot number 4 can actually just get around all of the opposing Cosmo big ships, no problem. So because of that, it really isn't a big problem in that matchup, and I just found that the recursion of the Pendulum decks can be actually just really powerful against Despots because they can help outgrind this deck. So because of that, I really wanted to have a good anti-pendulum card in this deck, I guess you could say. So that is why I opted to main the Grand Horn of Heavens because they are really, really strong against almost all pendulum decks, which is again why I am main boarding the 3 in this version. So yeah, we have those guys. Then we, of course, have 3 copies of Call of the Haunted for just general monster recursion. Again, we want to try and establish as big of a board as possible, and Call of the Haunted just getting us a free monster is never really that bad either. So, of course, we are having the 3 copies of Call of the Haunted as well. And then, of course, for the final few traps, we just have very strong one-ofs. We have the 1 copy of Time Space because it's really good against Pendulum decks. We have the 1 copy of Blazing Mirror Force because this card can actually help you win games by burning your opponent for certain amounts of damage. As well as, again, it is still a Mirror Force in and of itself, so you can use it to board wipe your opponent whenever they might attack with a big board. Then, for the last 3 traps, we, of course, have the big one of Power 3, I guess you could say right now, which is the 3 cards that are pretty darn strong in almost every deck, which is going to be the Warning, the Bottomless, and the Emptiness now. So, yeah, that will wrap it up for the trap lineup. Moving on to the Synchros, XZs, and Fusions in our extra deck. We're going to start off with the first copy of our Deskbot Jet. Now, this card is really, really cool. I'm not going to lie. It is a level 10 generic Synchro, so we can use Gen X Ally Birdman to tune up into this Synchro monster. And it's really cool. First of all, it has the effect where for every Deskbot card you have on your side of the field, it gains 500 attack and defense, which is pretty normal for all the Despots. But then its other 2 effects are pretty darn cool as well. The first one is that you can simply target any Deskbot card on your side of the field, destroy it, and then special summon any Deskbot from your deck. This is pretty darn cool because it works very well in tandem with the Pendulum ones, the Pendulum Despots right here, because whenever you do, again, destroy them, they can subsequently get you either a guy from your grave to your hand or from your grave to the field. So, in and of itself, that will be a +1 because you'll also have to include that Despot that you will be summoning off of the Jet's effect. And to make it even better, if you summon Despot number 2 from the Jet's effect, you get another plus. So it ends up becoming a +2, which is absolutely bonkers. Like, really, there's plays with this card that can just get you so much advantage cumulatively that it's insane. The other effect, of course, is just a very simple Scrap Dragon-like effect. You can target one Despot card on your side of the field, and then one card on your opponent's side of the field, and then blow them both up. Again, like I said, with the first effect, it does synergize extremely well with the Pendulum Deskbots in your deck. So again, it just gets you another play that can grab you a potential +1 as well. So yeah, we have the 1 copy of Deskbot Jet. Then, of course, we have the 1 copy of Trishula because we can make this in this deck. And Trishula is, of course, really, really strong because it doesn't target and it vanishes. So, of course, we have the Trishula because it's really strong. Then we have 2 copies. We have 2 level 8 Synchros, I guess you could say. We have the 1 copy of Cyframe Lord Omega and the 1 Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend. Now, of course, Omega is in here because it's actually probably, in my opinion, after thinking about it for a while, the best level 8 Synchro right now because, again, just being able to rip a free card out of your opponent's hand for I believe, a turn is really good because, again, you might not know what the card you're ripping is, but because your opponent is essentially losing a card out of their hand, it could be a potential combo piece for them and that you're essentially taking away, which again is really good at stopping your opponent from making the big combos that they might be wanting to do. And then of course we have the Scarlet because it's just really good board nuking. So of course we have the Scarlet in here as well because it's just also a pretty darn good level 8 Synchro. Then for the level 7s, we have Clearwing and Black Rose Dragon. Of course, Clearwing is in here to protect all of our other Synchro monsters because of its effect. And then, of course, Black Rose is in here because E-Knight is banned. And we still need some kind of board nuke in our extra deck. Okay, moving on to our other synchros, we have one copy of Metaphys Horus because we can make this a walking Snatch Steal with Deskbot number 5 and 1. And, I mean, Snatch Steal is banned, so when you have a walking version of Snatch Steal, that's pretty darn cool also. So we are running the Metaphys Horus. Then we're also running, finally, the two Naturia lock monsters in the form of Nat Beast and Nat Barkion, because pushing through either large back row or stopping your opponent from activating Pendulum Scales is never a bad thing. Moving on to the XZs, we have one copy of Durandal because we can make this with number 5 and Nat Beast or any combination of the two. And again, because of how Pepe searches quite a bit as well as Magispectors, it's good to have Durandal in the extra deck to help us shuffle back our opponent's hand and then hope that they don't draw any combo pieces or cards that they search again. So that's pretty cool, and that's why we have Durandal. Then we have the one Gigant because we are running that Gear Gear engine. We have the one Castel because Castel is good at spot removal. We have the one number 80 because this card can help us actually pump up our Gear Gigant X to pretty insane levels of attack. And also it's pretty decent against certain decks. I cannot think off the top of my head, but it's still decent-ish. Then we, of course, we have the one copy of Dweller because Dweller is really good against Cosmo and friends. So yeah, that'll be it for the XZs. And then finally, of course, we have the Norden, like I said, with the one instant fusion. So of course we have the Norden in here as well. Alright guys, well that will bring it to an end of my Deskbot deck profile for this November 2015 format. I did notice that this deck profile has gone on quite a long time actually, close to 16 minutes now. Regardless though, I hope you all did very much enjoy this profile, as I felt like I really wanted to just go and delve into this deck a little bit more and explain it a little bit more in detail than usual, just because of some of the intricacies that this deck does carry with it now. So again, hope you all very much did enjoy, and as always, this is QREM from the Trinity of Lift, and I'll see all of you guys later. Peace out.